Welcome into the Hustle Show podcast. It's Wednesday. We're ready to rock. We got college basketball, maybe a little XFL. Chris Thurston, Kelly in Vegas, Kelly Stewart, and Adam Trigger at Top Flight SI on Twitter. Guys, we are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com. Hustle 20 at checkout takes 20% off, and powered by WagerTalk.com. Best free live odds in the industry. If you're looking for free picks, go check out WagerTalk. The tab free picks. We got Chris Thurston in the house at CT Bet 16. Tough night for Baylor, but he's actually been hot in college basketball over the long term. CT Bets, welcome in, buddy. How you feeling?
Drew Martin Betts, I'm doing well. Yeah, it was a tough night for the Bears. K-State played great. The Tang's done a really, really good job filling that team and the voids there. Predicted the finished last in the Big 12, and got to give them credit. He should be coach of the year. It should be signed, sealed, delivered. But I'm doing great. Drew Martin Betts. It was another nice week last week, another winning week. College hoops was really good. I'm off to an 0-2 start this week, Drew. Had TCU on Monday, and I did bet the Baylor Bears last night. But things are well. It was, football in the books, and we're off to college hoops, and it's going well. I'm seeing it well. Have a couple games that I really like tonight. Had a great weekend with KIV and Joe Ranieri last week in sunny Florida, and it's great to see your faces.
Great to see your face as well. Tyrone Boyd in the house saying, time to ramp it back up. We are ramping it back up right now. Speaking of ramping it up, Kansas State in the house last night. Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, Barstool Sportsbook, WagerTalk.com. Kelly, your Wildcats look good. How you feeling today?
They did look good. I was actually not supposed to be here, but Mark Zeno, my regular fill-in, is in fucking Disney World, so I guess I had to be here. Even though that was my deal with CT on Twitter. I said, then I don't have to do the show tomorrow. That's okay. I just got done doing another show. I'm on the Trig train today. I've had about 3 energy drinks trying to stay alive. Okay week so far. I mean, Sunday was good. Monday, I had TCU first half loser. Yesterday, I went 2-2-1. It is what it is. Shout out to Muhammad in the comment section. I know CT and I like to give you a lot of shit. He posted a ticket the other night, and he's dropping some dimes. I'm proud of him. I said, you know what? I know we talk a lot of shit to him about the Eagles, but I got some respect for him betting some numbers like that. So shout out to him. But yeah, I'm really happy with everything that's going on in Manhattan, Kansas. I tweeted last night that this might be my favorite K-State team ever. I mean, that says a lot. I mean, we're talking Jacob Pullen, Frank Martin, Elite Eight. There was a lot of really fun times that year. I think it was 2008. March Madness. I'd have to look again. No, it couldn't have been. It must have been 2013.
It was later than that because I was living in Saratoga at the time. So I
was trying to think of where I was living when I said that, because I knew I was living in Vegas, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. That being said, it's been a long day. I'm ready to give out one whole game tonight and a couple of opinions on some sides that I'm not sure if I'm going to get to the window now. Does Kelly read the chat now? I do. I don't read the chat on Bet On It because I'm hosting and I don't care. But I like to read the chat here and fire off some good things and some bad things.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all working off the chat a little bit. So feel free to fire away what you're looking to bet, where you agree, where you disagree. Any funny comments? It's mostly all welcome right here on The Hustle, Wager Talk YouTube, wherever you're downloading your podcast at, The Hustle Show Podcast. And we got Adam Trigger. He knows his college basketball at Top Flight SI. A little bit late for today's show. Actually, on time, just kind of cutting it close. Not sure what he had going on, but Trig, welcome on in, man.
Drew, I do a 1 hour spaces on Twitter right before this show, so I'm always scrambling to switch over. We always go long. There's always a lot of games on Wednesday. But I do that every Wednesday, 5 to 6 before the show. We just talk games. Anyone's welcome to come on. CT always comes on. It's a good time. Kel, you were thinking of that 2018 was Frank Martin, Michael Beasley. That was
yes, because I was still in college, and I'll never forget. I was in a speech class with Michael Beasley. You know how sometimes you put off stupid electives and you just got to take a class as a senior with a bunch of freshmen. Well, it was me and Michael Beasley, 2 oldest people in the class, and he did a dissertation, if you will, on SpongeBob. I'm gonna say he was a little stoned, maybe.
Kel,
just allegedly.
Kel, I gotta point out, Seth pointed out in the chat for me. I knew he would, by the way, once I saw him in there. I have the Kansas State hoodie on because I went on the college basketball show yesterday, and basically, I think I compared Kansas State. Actually, I know I did. I compared Kansas State to that rookie pitcher that gets called up and is like dominating everyone and then gets like shelled the rest of the year. And I got to admit, I was wrong. I didn't think Kansas State had another big marquee win in them. And they proved me wrong last night. They played great. They beat Baylor. And all I have to say is thank you, because CT and I are going to Baylor, Texas this weekend. And now I can hammer Baylor with confidence.
Good. That does make me happy. See, there's a bright spot in the end of it. Actually, I don't know if Trig texted the group or if he just texted me. There was a lot going on. I had like 3 games on at once, and then I got K-State, Baylor on the iPad. And he said, I don't want to bet against K-State in the Octagon of Doom. And they're on my do not bet against list at home amongst other teams. I did not get to the window with them, mainly because the revenge situations in the Big 12 have been money. If you look at KU in the revenge situation against Baylor and TCU this last week, I lost on both of those. If you look at a couple other spots, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, every time the second team that either got beat up really bad or whatever it was, even on the road, they've done really well. And so I said, K-State went into Waco right off that KU win and kind of shocked the world there as almost double-digit underdogs. I think it closed 9.5 CT. I can't quite remember. Yeah. Either way, it was – I was at halftime. I was just like, it's going exactly like I thought it would, except K-State wasn't turning the ball over as much. And then they went on an 18-4 run in the second half. And I think it was Flagler that we held to a season low number of points. Was it CT or was it Fryer?
Yeah, he had 4 points and he was 1 for 13 from the floor, 0 for 6 from deep. So that hurts the Bears for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you isolate one of their best players like that, it's going to hurt. And that's exactly what happened in the second half. So I'm very proud of that K-State team and happy to see what's going on in Manhattan, Kansas. And, I had somebody be like, if they make the Elite Eight, if they make the Elite Eight, they'll be as good as that 2013 team. I don't know. Yes,
Kelly,
that is where they're
Kelly, I think they're now 12-4 against the spread at home this season. I think it's 12-4 against the spread.
That's why I said they're on my do not. I swear, you guys, I really keep actual lists and I update. This is this week's college basketball, and I'm not betting against Kansas at the current moment. Providence, Marquette, Nevada, or K-State at home. Those are just teams. I would love to bet UConn tonight, and I'm sure we're going to get into it. It's a top 25 matchup. But I'm not betting on Texas, Ole Miss, or LSU. They're all still dead to me.
Well, actually, you bring up UConn here, Kelly. I think it's a good segue. I mean, that game actually starts 6:30, a little bit of a happy hour special here. And like you talked about, top 25 matchup, nationally televised on FS1. Providence at UConn, guys, 142 being the total, 7 in the hook. That's the Huskies as the favorite at home. I believe it's their last game on campus for the season here, last home game. I guess we can break that down here. I was thinking Providence, it's a little bit too many points here, plus 7.5. They're 20-7 on the year. They scored 94 and 85 points their last 2 times out. And we've talked about it before on this show, on the college basketball show on WagerTalk. Ed Cooley as an underdog, 7-1, actually, his last 8 times as an underdog. I think Providence is the side in this one. Anybody else have a take?
I kind of love UConn. I'm not going to lie. I think actually I'm not going to steal CT's thunder. We talked about it on Spaces. The full game number scares me off a little bit because it is a big number. And I love Ed Cooley. He's a coach I don't like betting against. So, but I really do think the spot is perfect for UConn. The matchup should be better. The first time they went 5 for 22 from 3 in the first meeting. And I just think that this shape's better. I like that it's at Gamble and not at XL Center. But I'll kick it over to CT because I know he's got the take that we should all be listening to here.
No, Trig, you're not stealing my thunder at all. And I wasn't even going to talk this game unless you kicked it over to me. But yeah, I didn't bet a side in this game, but I bet the first half, like Jeff is actually saying it in the chat. I did. I bet UConn -4. Providence has got off to really, really shaky starts in conference. And yes, they've turned it around in the second half. And that's why I don't want to go against UConn for the full game. And I'm playing UConn in the first half. And we talked about this on Spaces, Trig. This game is on campus. It's not in Hartford. And it's a totally different animal. I say this a lot. I'm from Connecticut. I've been to a lot of games at Gamble. These students start drinking at 1-2 in the afternoon. It's a 5-minute walk from their dorms. And this is a big game for them, right? They lost by 12 this first game to Providence to Ed Cooley at the, do they still call it the Dunkin' Donuts Center, Trig? Wherever Providence plays.
It's the amp now.
It's the amp now. Okay. It will always be the dunk to me. But that being said, I did play the first half in this game. I bet UConn -4 for the first half, but I did have a big game breakdown in the Big East, Drew, and that's the second game. If you don't mind, I could go into that.
I don't mind at all, CT Bets.
Okay. And this is an ugly one, and it's when the Butler Bulldogs take on DePaul, the Blue Demons tonight, 8:30 Eastern, and that goes right after this UConn game on Fox Sports 1. Butler, they've dropped 2 straight. They're in 9th place in the Big East. DePaul, they've dropped 8 straight, and they're in 10th place in the Big East here. Butler won the first matchup here early January by 8. And yeah, DePaul, you're going to say, CT, you're insane. Yeah, they've struggled all season long. Clearly, they're on an 8-game losing streak here. They haven't been able to even win multiple games in a row within conference play, other than a upset win versus Xavier. They've been awful. With all that being said, there's still a ton of talent on this team, and it starts with the 2 seniors, right? The guard, Moja Gibson, he's 6'2", the senior. He's a transfer from OU. He's deadly with the 3 ball. He shoots about 42% beyond the arc. And then he's got his sidekick, Javon Johnson. He's another senior that could shoot it from deep. And this team plays better at home here. These two have a nice pick and roll. Our good buddy Freddie Mills pointed that out when I was doing my breakdown on Spaces here. These two are freaking frack. Nice pick and roll, and Butler's going to have a tough time defending that. Butler lost their last 2 games, Nova and Georgetown. They're getting outboarded. They're fouling at a ridiculous clip. They fouled 19 times on Saturday. Thad Matta is not very happy with the way they're playing right now, and I don't think it's going to get better for them tonight. They haven't won a road game since New Year's Day, and yeah, I get it. DePaul hasn't won a game since January 18th in general here, but I think they're too athletic and big tonight, and I think they're going to be able to contain those Butler shooters. There's a couple of them, and I like them to cover the small number here tonight, Drew, at home. I'm on DePaul -2.5, and the Blue Demons to snap that losing streak.
Yeah, the numbers jump from 1.5 to 2.5. Butler and DePaul going at 8:30 Eastern tonight. Hey, Trig, I'm seeing a bunch of people, including Mohammed here in the chat box, saying $2 beer night. Is that at UConn? You've been there. Is that a true statement?
So, Drew, I have been there in the past. I went to the XL Center earlier this year. Beer's definitely not $2 there. They are much more expensive. But yes, it's $2 beer night. And let me tell you something, Drew. I was at Youngstown State last weekend, and there was $2 beer night there. And the line for beer was never shorter than 30 minutes. I mean, so they were hammering them down, and it was a great crowd, and Youngstown State won by about 100. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see the same from UConn. I certainly think that UConn here's what I'll leave this game off with this. Last week I took UConn 30-1, got a good number on them to win the whole thing. Drew, they're one of those teams that checks the boxes in both the offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency category that you always look at for teams that typically go on to win the national title. I thought they were a great bet at 30-1. Not sure what they are now, but that is I added that to my futures portfolio, if you will. I do think that there's still some upside on this UConn team.
Trig, let's touch on that real quick. Sorry to cut you off, Drew.
Yeah.
I do think futures betting right now is always interesting, right? What are we looking for in terms of different teams, right? I've seen some people take some flyers on just like small schools, things like that can win the first round, and then you can start hedging. Is that your goal with UConn, or do you see them maybe making a Sweet 16 run?
Kel, I almost never bet futures in season. I typically do it before the season, then I do it again before the tournament. I just didn't think I would see UConn at better than 30-1. It was one of those things where I said, okay, I looked at their schedule, and I was like, it's not going to get better than this. I had a feeling they'd beat Seton Hall. I expect them to win tonight, and so I was like, I just don't see how I'm going to get 30-1 again. I like it. I want to have it, so that's why I fired it. But no, I typically don't bet them in the season. CT and I bet a couple before the season. I usually let that ride, and then I may add one. Like last year, I added Kansas right when the bracket came out. Turned out to be a good decision. I'll usually add later in the game.
Trig, I just want to hop in and say too, like I never bet this many futures, but I think I talked about this on Sports Grid TV on Joe Ranieri's show last week. I think this is the best year we've had in a really, really long time to bet futures. There simply just aren't that many good teams. We've seen number one team in the land after number one team in the land go down, and you're going to be able to get some really, really great numbers. And we have, and Kel, close your eyes, close your ears. Find somebody that could bet for you at Circa. They have the best futures numbers there is. Do yourself a favor and bet there. It's insane the numbers that Trig and I have been getting from friends of ours that live out there.
Just like off market numbers is what you're referring to?
They're just better, Kel. They offer better numbers.
Okay. Yeah, it's wild, the discrepancy. So I just wanted to throw that in there real quick.
And shop around, Drew. Before you go into that, shop around because I got that 30-1 on UConn at FanDuel. Like some of these numbers are going to be way different. You don't know where you're going to get the best number, but yeah, Circa they typically have a good number in relation to the rest of the market. But yeah, I mean, shop for those rogue ones. They're out there.
Yeah, I remember Tony at the Golden Nuggets saying like they're not taking enough out of their VIG on the futures market.
No, and you see that with a couple of really sharp books, right?
Yeah.
And that's where they branded themselves, is they want to be the sharpest book. They want to take the biggest action. They want to be the sports bettor's book. And hey, that's what they're doing. It may be painful here and there, depending on how their market ends up being, but that's why you're able to move lines. And good bookmakers, that's what they do.
Yep.
Well said. CT, a follow-up on what you said about, there's not that many good teams. And I get what you're saying, like in terms of like the number one seed, there isn't a team that's kind of like running away with it. What do you think about like how many teams do you think can actually win the national championship this year?
I think this is the most wide open it's really ever been. I really do. I mean, there's 5 teams.
What are we talking? 15 teams? You think you can make a case for 15 teams?
You stole the number out of my mouth. I was going to say 12 to 15 teams. That's what I would put it at. I really do, Drew. It's going to be wide open. I think this is going to be the best tournament that we've had in a really, really long time.
So I love that because I'm in Calcutta and I have been with some former proxy customers for years. Last year, we took about $50,000 bath, and I'm not talking as a whole. I was pretty fucking grossed out. Outside of St. Peter's, it was gross. But that kind of stuff is where now maybe I might send you guys a text after the season wants to get involved. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars, rich oil money in Texas, and you bid on different teams. And you may find a diamond in the rough for 10 or 15 grand as a group, and they could win the whole damn thing. That's huge. I mean, you're talking a big, big payday.
I think this is going to be the year. It hasn't happened in a while. The George Mason in the Final Four, the VCU like double-digit seed.
Good call, Trey.
I feel like we're gonna get one this year. I don't know who it is.
Right. You're right, though, because it has been
we're gonna get one this year.
Chalky. Lately, it's just been chalky. Like it's been KU, it's been Baylor, it's been North Carolina. It's been the traditional teams that you expect to be there. You're right. We haven't seen outside of St. Peter's last year. We didn't see that many upsets.
Yeah, no, I think this is the year. I think someone's going to come out of completely nowhere. Maybe it'll be Drew Martin's Texas A&M, but I mean, even a bigger seed, like a potential like Loyola Chicago, right? Like that was probably the last one that really like just was a mid-major that made the run to the Final Four. I wouldn't be surprised if it was this year. There's a lot of good teams. There's not many great teams.
Side note on Texas A&M, we were talking about them today, and I thought their win over Tennessee last night was pretty impressive, frankly. Yep. I only got to catch a little bit of it because there were so many games on at once. But right now they're up against what? Mississippi State. But this Alabama game on March 4th on Saturday is going to be, I think, if they can go and beat Alabama, I think you may have yourself a nice little ticket. So Drew, Chris, you guys have futures bets. I have none. I have no futures bets. I take that back. I have K-State at 50-1. Me and my girlfriend each threw $100 on it for fun, right? But it's whatever. They're not going to win the whole thing, and I'm not thinking that they will. It was just as a fun fan bet, and she had never bet before. So I put that in for us. But if they do make the Elite Eight, then I can start hedging. Is that what your intention is for A&M, or would you turn around and sell the ticket? I mean, Chris, what are you looking to do with yours?
Yeah, I think you said it right. I mean, the one I like the most is Trigger and I's bet on Houston. That was preseason. We have it at 12-1. We bet it again a few weeks ago at 9-1. That's the one that and Baylor I expect to be like really, really live and not to have to hedge out of. But the other tickets that Trigger and I have put in along the way, the Marquettes, the Creightons, the UConns of the world, like those are ones that I expect, like, as the dance goes on, to be able to get off those and make some money off of those, and either while selling it or hedging out. I mean, you have live tickets in your hands. Prop swap's a good place to make some money as well. But
I believe they can also do something with the app as well. Now with the app tickets.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It used to only
That's
be
pretty
paper
cool.
tickets. Double check that.
Oh, really?
Though.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I believe you don't have to just hand over the paper ticket, because think about a paper ticket. You walk up to the window at any sports book in Vegas, and I've told people this before, so make sure you're doing it. You use your player's card. That way, if you lose the ticket, they can find it, or at least take a picture of the damn thing so they can have the barcode off the bottom and try to help you find or locate your missing ticket. But that's something that I think is really interesting, because it still has a definitive ticket number even on the app. So I do believe PropSwap can do that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a good tip there, Kelly. I always take a picture if it's like a pretty good amount of money on the ticket. Yeah. I take a picture of it just because.
You should. I mean,
right.
I remember I had a buddy lose one day drunk at the pool and panicked, and I said, "Did you send the picture to anybody?" And he goes, "I did." And he ran. He was hammered, ran like all the way through the sports book, and so that he could at least report it as lost, as well as be able to get his ticket cash, because it was a winner, and it was like. He was devastated that he lost it. And I was like, that sucks. That's why you got to be careful. That's why the apps and technology is so much better.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point on Texas A&M, Kelly, I mean, that number I believe is gone. I just checked 200-1. What it was.
Oh, it's definitely gone.
Yeah,
they haven't lost since you said it. I don't think. Yeah. I think they've won every game since you brought it up.
Yeah, it's been great though. I mean, and what about the analysis though, Trig? I mean. Yeah. With Radford and Wade Taylor, do you see what I'm saying when you guys watch 100%.
Him?
Okay.
I watched the game last night, Drew, and I think I said on a show, I was like, Drew explained this like weeks ago. I 100% saw what you were talking about. They have the ball it's Baldwin, right? Is that who?
Well, the point guard's name is Wade Taylor, and
Wade Taylor. I'm sorry, yeah. Wade Taylor. They had the ball in his hands, and he it was exactly what you said. It's the reason they were able to hold off Tennessee last night. Mm-hmm. And Drew, I have to say I'm a much bigger believer than I was a couple weeks ago, but that's why you have 200-1, and that's why I don't have any ticket in my pocket. You were ahead of the curve on that, so props there. They're way better than I thought they were.
And that's really the only profile I like to bet futures, guys, is that like when a team's going off like 200-1, like literally triple digits, and they're underrated in the market, and you see something where they're under, like that's where you jump in the futures market. I'm not a big futures better overall. Like to Kelly's question, I only have one future, and it's Texas A&M at 200-1 to win it. And hey, it's a long shot, but who knows what can happen. But that win last night on nationally televised game up against Tennessee, I knew that number would be gone now. But guys, we got 7 o'clock. Any more 6:30 action? I think there was a couple games.
I actually just joined CT. I didn't feel comfortable betting against Providence for the full game. As I said, they're on my do not bet against list. Made perfect sense. Let's take UConn first half and see if they can't come out red hot. That's definitely a play. So I did join in there. I do lean DePaul with them, but God, the Big East, man. I don't know if I could bet another Big East team tonight. It has just been absolutely brutal. I texted both these guys last night, their thoughts on Nova. Got lucky there towards the end, so it is what it is. That game could have went either way. But I got a game that I'm going to segue into. I'm going to give out a best bet. It's not really a best bet. I bet it for a unit. It's not something I love at the end of the show. But I got a segue into, I think it's what's going to be CT's best bet, because he and I both agree if we're done just kind of going through the slate.
The only other thing I was going to bring up is what Charles says here, this Alabama situation. But yeah. Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I just did a show with Jeff Nadeau. Full disclosure, I don't have all the information. I caught some glimpses of it yesterday, and it's shitty all the way around, right? There is a person that is no longer alive because she was murdered by an Alabama player. And there was a player that either gave back a gun at 1 o'clock in the morning, loaned a gun, whatever it was. And it looks like he's playing tonight. And there is a lot of hoopla over it on Twitter and other parts of social media. There's Bama fans going absolutely bonkers to some of my Barstool coworkers. I get it. I don't have some big answer. Do I think the kid should be in jail? I think that there should be some more questions answered. I can tell you this. I'm really disappointed in Nate Oates' comments. Just a wrong place, wrong time. What? Nate, what are you doing? Haven't really heard from the athletic director. It's just a fucking terrible situation all the way around. That kid's life is going to be forever affected. Do I think his life, Miller, that is, do I think his life should be ruined? Not necessarily, but they should probably not play him, but he's their best player. So of course they're going to.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly,
I think Nate Oates did not think before speaking last night. Clearly, because he came out and apologized late night last night. But I was floored when I saw that he's playing tonight. That's all I have to
it's
say
just
about
crazy.
that.
But to answer the distracted question, we all know how bad South Carolina is, right? That like even though they fired Frank Martin, all of their problems are still there. Do I think South Carolina is going to get up big for this game? Maybe. Is Bama distracted? Maybe. I mean, but if you look at the day after the shooting, they sure as hell weren't distracted. They went in and just kicked some ass. I mean, Alabama's a really good basketball program. I'm not advocating for betting on South Carolina. The lines come down to 17 from 17.5. Yeah, I don't know.
I had it on my short list to bet the over, just thinking Alabama up and down. And to your point, Kelly, South Carolina is not very good, and teams that want to kind of run them up can. But I think there might be something to this distraction thing. So that's why I kind of laid off of it, but I was looking over.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Trig.
I was going to say, there was a game recently they clearly didn't care about. It was Oklahoma in this like mid-season. I still don't understand why they do that in the middle of January. And they got killed by a bad team. So, they got killed by a bad team. Point.
How much do they really care about South Carolina, even if all of this chaos didn't happen? Right. They probably don't. I mean, they've got eyes on Arkansas and Tennessee, and then finishing up the year with A&M.
Yeah, I want to throw, if we're going to just segue into knocking a couple games out before best bets, I talked about this on Spaces. The number may have moved, but one I have a lean on was Cincinnati, and Battle for Temple is definitely out, and it looks like their big Lakin is going to play. I don't know if it's moved. If you're still seeing 8s, 8.5s out there, I would just take it. Like, I saw Cincinnati play in person a couple weeks ago, and I left that game far more impressed with Cincinnati than before I went to that game. They're a team that they've grown on me a little bit. They're much better than I thought they were, or at least I perceived them to be. And Battle is big for Temple. That I don't think that Temple team is great in general. And you take him out, they could have trouble scoring, and they really could. They're on the road. It's in Cincinnati. They could get blown out there. I would take anything up to 9. I think is a good bet. I think Cincinnati probably wins that game by double digits. One other comment. Someone asked about Iowa, Wisconsin. I could only take Iowa after they got pummeled over the weekend by Kelly in Vegas' Northwestern Wildcats, her other Purple Cats team.
I do
so
love
I have
that
to lean Iowa
team.
There.
No, I agree with you there. I can't trust Wisconsin. I took them on Saturday. They had opportunities.
They suck.
Couldn't
that
get
team
it
sucks.
done at home. So I do another show before this one, and we talked about the home road splits in not only the Big 12, but the Big 10. Big 10 has some of the best home court advantages. And guess what? Wisconsin's 1-3 at home. Like they're like the outlier. I don't trust them, but I think that Iowa -1 line looks so fishy.
I know. What about another fishy line? What about Kentucky, Florida? That's the other one that someone was asking about. Throw it out.
That's my best bet if you want to wait to the end of the show.
We'll wait.
CT, you want to throw out anything before best bets?
Only thing I got, Drew Martin, is WagerTalk tweeted it out last week or the week before, but Trig and I are hosting a little event up at Turning Stone first weekend of March Madness, and our sponsor, Viva Tequila Seltzer, we're going to have a bunch of it up there, and we'll be watching the games and doing live shows, hanging out. We'll be banging the games. We got a couple of our regular loyal fans coming up to meet us. Aaron Kidd, Keith Landry Betts down in the Bayou. He's coming up. Our good friend Mark Zeno, who fills in on this show, he's coming. Our good friend Guns from the Dad Bods podcast. So it's going to be a good time. There's going to be plenty of
bunch of the Wager Talk guys too, Chris. Like there's
bunch
a bunch of the Wager Talk
guys and Sports Memo guys are coming. If you haven't
What
had
is
a
this?
Viva before, this is a good
I
weekend
don't want
to
to
have.
go.
So
I don't want
basically,
to go. It's going to be cold.
so basically,
You don't
we've
have
got
to.
the
We
book.
got everything under control.
yeah,
Yeah,
we've got.
but your brother wants me at MSG, and now I'm like, well, fuck. If I'm already at MSG, what's another 4 hours?
So your
Well,
brother.
that's the
So
second weekend
first of
he
all,
wants
that's the
you there.
second weekend. This is
Yeah.
the first
Okay,
weekend.
This is the first
This
weekend.
is first
Okay,
weekend. Yep. First weekend,
Um,
March Madness. We'll be there. Plenty of Vivas.
we're
All you
just-
can drink Viva.
What
We're
day you
just
guys
hanging
starting?
out.
Thursday for the playing games, or
So the playing
Thursday,
games
Friday,
are on
Saturday, Sunday.
Tuesday. This isn't COVID year. Playing games are on
Oh.
Tuesday. The tournament starts on Thursday. We will be in the book morning to night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Sunday, me, CT, a couple other people are taking a 90-minute ride down to Albany, New York, and we're going to the tournament games, whoever gets drawn there. So it's going to be fun. The NCAA tournament's an hour and a half away. We've got spots at the book all weekend. I know that the guy is a family friend of Mallory's, so he's taking care of us. We're going to be all set up. Basically, we're just watching game. Like, that's the plan. There's no other plan. We're just going to probably drink all day and watch games. So
Drink
if that's
Viva
something
and
you're
watch
into,
games.
if that's something you're into, come on down.
You'll fit right in.
Speaking of going to games, Kelly, did you see there's first round games in Orlando? Does that interest you at all?
ooh. Yeah, I think we might have to do that. I did not see that, and I don't think Chris's brother Steve saw that either, because he sent me an entire list of sporting events we want to do for Viva this summer. We talked about going to a live event in Orlando as well. Maybe doing a couple other things on the East Coast. Yeah, Drew, I think we have to do that.
Yeah, we could get a little Joe Ranieri going. I don't know any other Florida people that don't make the trip up to what the Northeast.
Like, no offense,
True.
guys. Turning Stone looks beautiful. You guys are going to have a great time. I am just so not loving cold weather. Ask Trig what a pussy I was in Missouri. It's like freezing rain. I'm like, why did I come here? Because we had a 2-0
Listen,
week. That's why.
Sometimes mid-March, though, you never know. Like, sometimes it's nice up here. It's really hit or miss. It's not necessary. It's not like
I'd
you're
rather
coming
come
in
up
like
for the fall and actually see the
Yeah.
leaves change.
What sportsbook, Muhammad? It is Turning Stone has a Caesars Lounge inside Turning Stone, so that's where we'll be. And basically, if the group gets too big, there's another property 20 minutes down the street that has a way bigger book that has like VIP areas, and they're gonna hook us up with that. So it's gonna be a great setup. But it is a Caesars is the actual book that's in there, and they did a great job. They renovated the whole lobby area. It's awesome. CT's been. We last time I don't even want to talk about last time he came. We blew a 28-point lead with the Chargers, and I didn't see him the rest of the weekend. So that was that.
I felt really bad about that one. I woke up, I gave up on the Jags, and I woke up and I was like, what? I don't blame him. You wouldn't have seen me either. I'd have just drove home in the middle of the night.
Drew, let's plug the sponsors and rip some best bets and get out of here.
We are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com. Use the Hustle20 coupon code at checkout. It takes 20% off, powered by WagerTalk.com. Guys, check out WagerTalk. It's the best free live odds in the industry. Free picks up, premium picks up, whatever you want. Check it out, WagerTalk.com, for all your betting needs. We got Mohammed here asking for what you all think of Vandy LSU. I was going to try something new for my best bet, do a little quick rundown, little quick hitter of all the SEC games. That's where I'm kind of concentrating a lot of my time. Go in rotation order here. Kentucky, Florida, 140 being the total. Kentucky -2 now as the road favorite. Look, with Colin Castleton out of the lineup for Florida, they've lost 4 of their last 5. They are fade only for me. John Calipari on the other side. We know his teams get better as the season goes on. Can call him a scumbag off the court, on the court. He coaches them up. It's Kentucky or pass in that one. Next one, to your point here, Mohammed, Vanderbilt at LSU. Vandy -2.5 point road favorites, 140 the total in the Bayou. It was just Fat Tuesday. They might be a little bit hungover, and they're not good anyway. LSU, the worst team in the SEC. Vanderbilt or pass in that one. Heading on to the 9 o'clock slate. It's a 4-game SEC slate tonight. We got Alabama and South Carolina. We hit on it shortly. This one it was actually made my short list. How I do it is I go through like the schedule for the week, and I put Alabama, South Carolina there, bet it over. I just thought Alabama could control the tempo, and we know that Alabama, I mean, they can go north of 100 pretty much at any point. And against South Carolina, that Gamecock defense is not very good. But I think there is something to this distraction. Look, if you need a bet, I'd go up and over 148.5. That's what I was going to go. I stayed off of that game, though. And the last one here, this will be my best bet for the show. Heading to the Plains in the Pearl, Auburn hosting Ole Miss. Kind of a little rivalry here, these two teams. 136.5 being the total. Auburn minus 12-point favorites. That's big in the totals betting because, guys, if you watch Auburn play at home, we've talked about it with multiple coaches in college basketball, Bruce Pearl being one of them. When he's at home in front of the home fans, the boosters, I'm telling you, they try to run it up. They try to cover the spread, use this 12-point kind of favorite role in. We're going to put that in our pocket, let's say. Good home court advantage. Their last 4 home games have easily eclipsed the total to the over, and 7 of the last 8 Ole Miss games have gone up and over the total. So hotty toddy, War Eagle, lot of points, low total here, 136.5 in Auburn. That's my best bet for the show. Auburn, Ole Miss, over the total, 9 o'clock Eastern on SEC Network. So going around the horn here, Chris Thurston at CTBet16 on Twitter. Final thoughts for the show, and what do you got for best bet, buddy?
Final thoughts. We're coming down the home stretch here, and we'll be doing shows all through March Madness. We talked about maybe bringing back the Saturday, maybe doing a Friday show. The crew's all in. We just got to nail down what's best for us, but look for that next week to start here, as Trig and I are traveling to Baylor, Texas this weekend. So that's final thoughts. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it, and we're going to close out strong here. Yeah, J-Buff, you're not going to like this one. Battle of the Oranges tonight, and that takes place at Little John Coliseum, home of the reeling Clemson Tigers here. And it wasn't long ago, this Clemson team, they were in first place to the ACC, Drew. They started 10-1 in conference. They have dropped their last 4 or 5 here, and those were pretty bad losses. They lost to BC and Louisville most recently. They're a bubble. They're on the bubble here, desperately need a win. And they get to play home tonight, where they play much better to get back on track here. Syracuse, they keep beating the teams they should and losing to the upper tier teams in the ACC. They're probably going to miss the tournament here. They've been pretty poor in their non-conference games this year. They're mediocre, best on D. The patented Boeheim zone hasn't really been the same and worked as good as it had in years past. Boeheim needs to go, and Syracuse needs to wake up. The opponents aren't fearing the zone anymore. They don't get uncomfortable like the olden days. Now, Clemson this past Saturday, what do? They lose to horrible Louisville in a game they really couldn't afford to lose here. But they got some games left here to bounce back and kind of get back in the mix here. And it starts tonight. And I think they're going to win this game on the offensive glass. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see. The veteran Hunter Tyson, he's the leader of this team. And I think he's going to be able to get some open looks tonight against the zone. The big man, PJ Hall, he's really going to be able to mess this zone up as well. Clemson, every time they've got zone this year, they've absolutely shredded it. Clemson, they've got some shooters with Hall, Galloway, Hunter, and Tyson. And they should be able to get loose tonight, make some shots. They didn't shoot the ball versus Louisville. That's clear, right, on Saturday, but I think it's going to be a different story tonight. Cuse hasn't really been exactly great on offense away from home. So give me the Tigers tonight. Drew Martin bets is my best bet, -4.5, play on Clemson.
Clemson Tigers for CT Bets. We got Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. Kelly Stewart, check her out. WagerTalk.com, Barstool Sportsbook. Kelly, any final thoughts for the show? What do you got for best bets?
First of all, Jay Buff, we bet against all sorts of teams, including yours. Sorry to ruin your birthday, but happy birthday, buddy. Not probably going to come to New York unless it's for the second round and I'm in New York City. That being said, I agree with CT. Clemson was on my long list. I texted Mr. Trigger regarding Syracuse earlier. I think that was just not a flat spot necessarily for Clemson, but come on, to lie to me and tell me you think they were looking at beating 4-24 Louisville, right? Like Ellis had a good game. It is what it is. Now, maybe they were looking ahead to Syracuse, right? They just had bludgeoned Florida State to death at home, and I think that's a possibility tonight versus Cuse. But I did not get to the window with them. I got to the window, though, with the Florida Gators. I think there's a big overreaction to Castleton being out tonight. By all means, I understand one of their best players broke his hand. That sucks. But they still got the job done versus Ole Miss. Of course they did. It was at home. And then they have their first game without him. And I thought maybe we'd see like an injured player theory there. But Arkansas did what they do. They live and die by the three. They put up 84 at home versus this Florida defense. And we know that's what we're not going to see tonight is defense between these two. I think it's going to be the first team to maybe 75 gets the win. And I think that team is going to be Florida. I took Florida plus 2.5. I did not take them on the money line. I could see something wonky happening here, a couple late whistles. Next thing you know, Kentucky bangs down a couple free throws, win the game by 1 or 2. But that being said, I hate to be head-to-head with Drew Martin Betts in the SEC. But now I'm going to text Joe Ranieri and see if he wants to go to Orlando for the first round of games, and we'll make a weekend out of it.
Absolutely. And Kelly, I was just doing the rundown of my SEC thoughts. That's not my best bet. We're not.
I didn't say it was, but okay. I don't like that you like Kentucky. That concerns me. That's all.
All good.
Drew,
Kelly.
you're gonna love this. I gotta throw it out there because this is just like right up your alley. For NCAA tournament, the sharp way to go to games is to hit the round of 32, because people like the teams that get knocked out, all their fans sell their tickets. You can usually get like any ticket you want, like on resale, like especially if like a big team gets knocked out with a big fan base. Yeah. Those tickets are going like crazy. So that's what CT and I are doing. Like I like to be in the book for the first day, but that round of 32 day, some of those games are standalone games, and you got people that just went to like the whole day. They overestimate how much they can handle in the weekend. And it's like if you're going to games, if you go to like, especially if you go to more than one session and you do all 4, sometimes by that second day, you're like, yeah, I'm good. And a lot of those tickets get put up for sale. So I always, whenever it's in Albany, Buffalo, or I can go, that round of 32 day, that's what CT and I are going to in Albany. You can just get tickets like the day of. You can always get good ones. That's like the way to do it, in my opinion, for that first weekend of the NCAA tournament.
That's a great ticket handicap. Where else are you getting that, guys? Than the Hustle Show podcast right here on the WagerTalk YouTube.
I don't want to go for a whole weekend, and I probably don't even want to stay the night in Orlando, but that's a whole nother debate in itself. But I think going up for like, even if we get somebody fun, a fun 1 game, 2 games, whatever. I mean, I don't know, Drew, what's it like 2.5 hours for you?
Yeah. I'm in.
What coast is that? The right coast?
Right up the Florida Turnpike.
And Drew, that second day, it's always a dual ticket, right? So there's only 1 session per venue. So day 1, you usually have to get, if you want to go to all 4 games, you either have to get the all day or you have to get morning session and night session. The weekend, the Saturday, Sunday, it's 1 ticket, 2 games, you're in, you're out. That's my favorite one to go to. I always go, if it's around me, I always go to the round of 32 is the best time to go.
That's a sharp call right there, Trig. Love the ticket handicap, man. You want to use that as your best bet or
no, I'm going to, Drew, I'm going to do what you did. I thought that was great. I'm going to try to just run down the things I have opinions on and then give a best bet. UConn started, but like, I would hop in. If you can get a good number better than the pregame number, I'd take UConn in game. I liked CT Betts' call in the first half. If that doesn't get there, I'd come with UConn second half. I still think they find a way to cover the game line. I threw out Cincinnati earlier in the show. I think it probably gets there. It's probably moved up since now it's known that battle is out, but I could totally see Cincinnati blowing them out. Kelly in Vegas cashed a ticket over the weekend with UMass. That's her guy, Frank Martin. I see them getting a ton of points again tonight. They're getting healthier. That was one that was on my radar. Didn't make my card, but I start seeing UMass catching points, and I have a feeling that there's still some value to be had there because they had so many injuries earlier in the season. Frank Martin's playing like 11 different guys. He was very frustrated in really not having much of a rotation, but guys are coming back and they're starting to sort of get organized there, which he took over a disorganized mess. So that's a home game for UConn or for UMass. I haven't liked Dayton all year. I think they're overvalued as a
8
favorite.
seems like a lot. I didn't look at that game, but that seems like a lot.
Listen, UMass is going to be undervalued because they really were not playing well earlier this year. But remember, this is Frank Martin's first year. He's great at turning programs around. Now you're getting to the end of February, March, where the turnaround starts to happen. And they had multiple injuries, guys missing long stretches. Almost everyone's back. I got a text earlier that 2 other guys that are like rotational pieces should be back tonight as well. So they're a team. Like, I'm not trying to lay points against UMass going forward. I think Frank might have started to turn a corner with this team. Kel had him over the weekend. I was kicking myself for not being on that with her. I think they played Rhode Island.
I love that you text me, put them on my radar, and then you didn't play them yourself. Great idea.
Story of my life, Kel. It really is. Yeah, I texted her. I said, this looks like a game you might be interested in. +5. Didn't bet it. They won by $1 million. But anyway, I have my best bet for the show, Drew. A 4% play for me at WagerTalk. It's Southern Miss. They're playing Old Dominion. I haven't seen the injury report. So part of the handicap here was the fact that Old Dominion might be down a couple of guys. I expect them to play because I haven't heard they're out yet, but it's very much it doesn't mean a ton this game for Old Dominion. And those players in question are Chauncey Jenkins, who rolled his ankle over the weekend, and then Ben Staley, who missed the game over the weekend with a knee injury. You start to see these coaches with teams like that. That's the Sun Belt. Old Dominion would need to win the Sun Belt tournament to get in. They can't really improve their standing in the Sun Belt tournament. So I got to think that these coaches start to err on the side of caution a little bit. While Southern Miss controls their own destiny to win the Sun Belt in their first year in the league, Southern Miss is like Kansas State 2.0. No one gave them a chance in this league. They were new coming in from Conference USA, some roster turnover. I saw them picked down near the bottom in every publication, and now they control their own destiny to win their league in the regular season. I just think they're going to want it more. They have had some good underlying sort of things, like they defend hard, and Freddie on our podcast is a guy that Chris and I do spaces with, pointed out. So I want to give him credit here that Old Dominion is awful against the press. I looked up Old Dominion like 350th nationally in assists. They really don't move the ball well, and Southern Miss will press all day long. That's going to be tough for Old Dominion, and it'll be even tougher if those guys are out. I laid this morning, -125, Southern Miss to win. I think it's roughly the same. I think it'll go off the same unless in the next 15 minutes someone gets ruled out, which could happen. That happens all the time. Happened to me and Kel last night. She somehow pushed with Tulsa. I took a loss. Just not happy about that. But anyway, happy that Kel didn't lose. Not happy that I took Tulsa with a bad number and took a loss. Southern Miss, just need them to win. I think they get it done. Short, too short, in my opinion. So Southern Miss to win. I played the money line -125, 4% best bet.
Okay, so Southern Miss -125, right, Trig?
Yeah, that's what I played at for my clients, 4%. You could lay the small number. I really think that they have no problem with Old Dominion here.
Okay, that does it, guys. I'm on Ole Miss Auburn over 136.5. CT's on Clemson -4.5. We got Trigger on Southern Miss -125 on the money line, and Kelly in Vegas. Kelly Stewart on Florida plus the 2 in the hook. Kentucky versus Florida in the SEC. Guys, check out vivatequilaseltzer.com. Coupon code HUSTLE20 at checkout. WagerTalk.com as well, guys, for all your betting needs. For Kelly Stewart, Chris Thurston, Adam Trigger, I am Drew Martin. That does it for The Hustle. We will be back next Wednesday. Come back and check us out. Smash that like button.